Nothing really compares to the feeling of getting the audience to shudder.
And you said you're trying to tell your own truth. What is that?
Well, really my truth as a black man, that my perspective that I haven't seen in film before. I haven't seen that represented. On the surface, it's a harmless thing, but what I wanted to point out with this film is that it's connected to the deep horror of racism.
When you think of the most innovative modern horror directors, what names come to mind? If one were to narrow down their list, they would probably include such names as Robert Eggers, Eli Roth, James Wan, Jennifer Kent, and Mike Flanagan. But while those are all brilliant filmmakers in their own right, there is one name that stands out in many moviegoers' minds: Jordan Peele. Hello, welcome to the first round-the-clock Frights video editorial. I'm Joshua Essenberg, just your typical run-of-the-mill horror fanatic. I watch everything, from the classic black and white shockers of the 50s to the grisly French extremity films of the modern era. Today, I'll be talking about arguably the most exciting horror auteur of this day and age, Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele has already been labeled as a modern horror master. Quite the achievement for someone with only 2 horror titles under his belt, 2017's Get Out and this year's Us. Heck, other directors like Wes Craven had to release at least 4 films before claiming the title of master. Like most young people my age, I first discovered Peele through his comedy sketch show, Key and Peele. With their hilarious and cleverly written skits, I became a fan of Key and Peele very fast. But when I heard Peele was going to take a stab, at the horror genre, I became skeptical. When people saw the trailer for his first directorial effort, Get Out, most of them were expecting a fun, run-of-the-mill horror flick about a young black man who becomes taunted by his white girlfriend's parents. What they got instead was a rich, shockingly complex tale that dove into such real-world fears as racism and losing one's identity. It astounded critics and even earned the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, and it catapulted Peele into superstardom. With the success of Get Out, Peele was given free rein to make literally whatever project he wanted. He chose to do yet another original horror film about a family that becomes terrorized by evil doppelgangers. The result was Us, an acclaimed film that audiences were a bit more split on, but nevertheless rewarded it with huge box office returns. It's not a perfect film. In fact, if one were to pick the plot elements apart, they would just end up frustrating themselves. It is not a film to be taken literally. Like the classic horror films of the 70s, it's all about the emotion. Sure, you could pick apart the film's plot holes, but it's much more about what it makes you feel in the end. And hell, I'll take a somewhat sloppy original horror film over yet another Conjuring movie. On a side note, Annabelle Comes Home looks like a steaming pile of feces. What Peele really excels at is social commentary. With both his films Get Out and Us, he touches upon issues that strike a nerve with people all over the world. Not only that, he instills his own unique voice. Each of his films have bits of comedy that earn genuine laughter. He never lets us forget his roots, even if he's crossed over into a genre that most would not have connected him with. Sure, he may be a humongous horror fanboy who has gushed about all of his influences over the years, but what really makes him stand out is his voice. I really can't see a filmmaker like Eli Roth or even James Wan making a film like Get Out. When you watch a Jordan Peele film, you know you're watching a Jordan Peele film, through and through. Peele has indeed earned the respect of millions of horror fans all over the world. But many people are still shocked that an individual with a background in comedy was able to become one of the genre's biggest voices. But when you really think about it, is it really that surprising? Comedy is an exceedingly difficult thing to pull off. It's all about timing. You need to set up the joke just right and hopefully pay it off well enough to earn a laugh. Horror is another genre that's all about timing. If you aren't able to build up properly to a scare, then you failed as an artist. Like comedy, horror directors need to find that note and hit it just right. With the keys to the horror kingdom, Jordan Peele has acquired the rights to numerous popular horror franchises like The Twilight Zone and Candyman. Jordan Peele is quickly becoming one of my favorite filmmakers of this era. Some have labeled him as this generation's Hitchcock, but really, there can only be one Jordan Peele. Thank you so much for joining me in my little discussion. If you liked this, you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel, Horror All Year, where me and my team members will be bringing you new content weekly. Thank you again, and have a scary day, boils and ghouls.